There's a 3-on-3 league that's played in the summer at Hockey Etc. in Montreal. And on Tuesday night was the final for first, for second, and for third. Who came out on top? Which Montreal Canadiens players dominated? Which ones didn't? Are they NHL ready? The kids played. I'm talking Slafkovsky. I'm talking Machar. Was there a revelation? One guy who was there watching very attentively, Charles-Alexis Brisebois from Dans les Coulisses, and he's a contributor at BPM Sport 91.9 FM. He joins me today on the Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro. The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
And now a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Sports entertainment like no other. Brought to you by 8.6 Beer, intense by nature, and La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the cup, it's time you went back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, brought to you by 8.6 Beer, intense by nature, the beer for those who follow their instinct and live their passions in order to make their mark. And La Cage, if the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the cup, it's time you go back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you. I was there, by the way, on Tuesday night on Côte Vertu, their Ville Saint Laurent location, and had myself some classic nachos, some buffalo wings, and the steak. 40 days, age, prime, AAA. Pretty good. I loved it, as a matter of fact. Speaking of pretty good, he does awesome work for DonnieCoulis.com, and he's a contributor to BPM Sports 91.9 FM dial in Montreal. Charles-Alexis Brisebois, welcome to the Sick Podcast.
Hi, thank you very much for having me today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for doing this. Awesome stuff. So, there weren't too many people in attendance at Hockey Etc. on Tuesday night, but one of those who was you.
Absolutely. It was a great setup, actually. I was really impressed by what I saw.
This it's a 3 versus 3 concept, correct?
Yeah, exactly. There are 2 ices, and the games are 3-4-3. So it's really a smaller ice. So the you skate just a little bit, and you're on the other side of the ice. It's really great not to for the players, actually, just to practice during the summer, because they don't want to play a real game. They don't want to play a real 60-minute. But for that context, for the summer context, I thought it was great, actually.
Which Montreal Canadiens players and prospects were playing in the game, Charles-Alexis?
There were 2 games, actually, because there was a tournament like the few weeks, and then it was the final, the for the bronze and for the gold medal, actually, for the tournament. In the first game, Arbor Chekai was there. He was the main prospect in the game for the Montreal Canadiens. I thought he was really, really good. I thought he was really impressive. I thought he was really big. I was on the other side of the of the victory, and he was. I was still afraid. They weren't allowed to check, but I was still afraid because he's that big of a dude. But the real game was on the gold medal side. There were a few Montreal Canadiens players. There were Nick Suzuki was there. Josh Anderson was there. They played on the same line, and they were against Yuri Slafkovsky and Philippe Machar. So 4 players of the Montreal Canadiens in the same game, Tony.
Now, Slafkovsky and Machar were not supposed to play in the game because they're not in the league, right? But I think a couple of players on the other team had a previous engagement and couldn't make it. One of them was Huberdeau, correct?
Exact. Jonathan Huberdeau and I think Christopher Letang were supposed to play, and they played throughout the tournament, but they were not there. They had, I think it's a golf tournament, but I'm not sure. So Machar and Slafkovsky, they arrived in town a few days ago, as you know, so they decided to jump in, and it's great, to see the kids to adapt themselves to Montreal, to be here and to say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna play this game. I'm gonna be in front of a few fans, and it was the first time they were actually playing hockey in Montreal. So it's a nice experience, I think, for them and for the fans, because we saw when Slafkovsky was there and when he was doing something, the fans were reacting. And it wasn't a big crowd who was reacting a lot, but the fans were still impressed to see, hey, it's Yuri Slafkovsky. It's our first pick overall. He's playing in front of us. So I think it was a cool experience for the fans to see the number 1 pick.
You know, when you said, I think Huberto was at a golf tournament, I remember seeing a tweet from Johan Benson, also a contributor to 91.9 FM in Montreal, now BPM Sports, hitting Montreal, Gatineau, and Quebec. Nice golf day, Hamilton Country Club. He tweeted that a day ago, and there he is playing with Jonathan Huberdeau. So that's where they were, Hamilton Country Club.
There you go. It's this explained that, but you know, the what I learned is that the players really wanted to play, and you know, it was a summer tournament. It doesn't mean necessarily anything because you don't win, but these guys are competitors, right? And if they made it to the NHL, it's because they compete more than the rest of us, and they really wanted to be here. And some players tried their best to be here. I don't know if Huberdeau and if Letan tried everything, but maybe a lot of them tried a lot to be there because it was important and it was cool and it was a nice environment for them to be surrounded by NHL players playing in a different setup. So I know that a lot of them tried a lot to be there.
Speaking of cool, this podcast is cool. It's pretty sick if you ask me. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, comment SICK, S-I-C-K. And if you're listening on audio, please leave us a 5-star review and write the word SICK, S-I-C-K. It's our way of feeling the love. You brought up Arbor Jacki, who plays in the Ontario Hockey League. And Kent Hughes has brought up his name on more than one occasion, which has led us members of the media to believe that he's in his plans somewhere down the line here. And I don't know if you saw the picture, but last week on Saturday night when CF Montreal played, Arbor Jacki was there, Caden Gooley was there, Philip Michar was there, and so was Uri Slavkovsky. And there's a picture of them all together. Arbor Jacki's hand is like bigger than my head. And I've been told I got a pretty big head.
Yeah, he's a big dude. He's a really big dude. And I'm curious, I don't know if you see the pic too, when you see the 4 of them and they're almost the same height, except for Meshar. So if Caden Gooley is as high as a guy like Jacki, it's really good for the future of the Montreal Canadiens because, you know, it's good to have some small players who are skilled. You think like a Cole Caulfield or something, but you need those big dudes behind. You need to have a big defensive core to help the team, and that's a fact in the NHL. So I'm very curious to see what Jacki is going to do next year under Jean-François Houle in Laval, because if he develops well and if he has a little bit of an offensive touch, maybe he's going to be like an important contributor for the Montreal Canadiens for the next few years.
If I would have put $1 before the final was played on Betway for the love of the game, sign up and deposit on Betway for a 100% deposit bonus, the easiest sportsbook for Canadians. E-transfers are accepted immediately. And I would have asked, who's going to be the best player in the game? Is it going to be Suzuki? Is it going to be Anderson? Is it going to be Mashar? Is it going to be Slavkovsky? I would have won money if I would have bet on who. Who was the best player in that game?
Listen, I really loved what Nick Suzuki did. You can talk a lot about Josh Anderson. He scored 2 beautiful goals. He has a really great shot, and we know that. I mean, he was there in Montreal for the past 2 years. We've seen his shot, but Nick Suzuki is really a good player creator. It looked like on the ice. So really, I was impressed by what maybe the future captain of the Montreal Canadiens did on that ice. And I really thought the dynamic was kind of cool because, you know, he's going to play with Cole Caulfield. We're not sure who's going to play on his left. Maybe Josh Anderson is a candidate. Maybe Slavkovsky is a candidate. And the 2 of them were on the same ice. So I thought it had a feeling of like, maybe there's a little battle to see who's going to play on left. And you know, Anderson wanted to win that battle. He was really good. Yeah, he was really good. He played with them a little bit last year for a few games, and I thought I think it deserves to start the year at the left of Nick Suzuki from what I saw last year and from what I saw last night.
Actually, we're going to have to wait and see who's going to play on the right because, as you know, yes, Cole Caulfield is a right winger, but they actually like to play him on the off wing, so they're probably going to be looking for a right winger on that line. But I totally get your drift completely. Uri Slavkovsky, I saw highlights. They're all over the internet today. Clearly, he has NHL skill and ability. No doubt about it. What is he missing?
I think at the end of the game, maybe he looked like Brendan Gallagher when he came on the bench during this year. He was a little bit out of breath, so maybe he's gonna have to work on that. That being said, The camp has not started yet, so I'm
Hold
not.
on.
Yeah,
Time out. How can he be out of breath? A month ago, he broke the bike.
yeah. I had the same. I had exactly the same thought, but sometimes it looked a little bit hard for him. I hope he's gonna step up for the next for the next few weeks, and I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. But that maybe concerned me a little bit. But seriously, he was a good player. He's fast. He's skilled. He's big. He did everything good on that ice, and I was really impressed by what I saw from Slavkovsky.
This 3-on-3 hockey, I would imagine Marty St. Louis must love it because, as you know, when he came in last year, a lot of his practices were
Yeah.
short-sided games, a
Yep.
3v3. We saw that a lot
Yep.
because, you know what? Small ice, tight spaces. You don't have a lot of time. You have to think and react right away. It exercises the brain. It teaches you how to problem solve, to get out of tight situations, to see how you can get out. Marty St. Louis must love it that some of his players are doing that kind of training in the offseason.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, and you're right. And it was very, very different because we didn't saw this in Montreal by the past. Dominic Duchamp was not necessarily doing this. It's really Saint Louis who brought that mentality. And I think on the short game, the 3-on-3, you really see some tendencies. For example, Meshar and Slavkovsky were playing together, and you saw a lot of the time Slavkovsky was going up to the net, and Meshar was backing up. He looked a little bit to me like a Thomas Plekanec. He really looked responsible on that ice. And I know it's not the same potential. Obviously, Slavkovsky is way better. And I think Meshar is a few years onto his NHL career. But I loved what I saw from Meshar too. I think his progression will be interesting to see because if he can become that responsible center, it could be a very important asset for the Montreal Canadiens.
Who, besides the usual suspects, was a guy that you didn't expect to get your attention that did? Was it Arbor Jacki? Because someone whispered in my ear that defenseman William Trudeau, who's a former 4th-round pick, can play.
Yeah, absolutely. Trudeau was good too. You have Xavier Simoneau was there too, but William Trudeau was absolutely good. He looked really great on that ice. He did not have a lot of points, and it's a high score game, obviously on 3-on-3. But he was he looked at his place. He was not misplaced on the ice. He always made the good play against some NHLers. So I thought it was really interesting to see that prospect that we don't necessarily talk a lot. Obviously, we talk about the Slavkovskys and we talk about the Chekais of this world, but to see a guy like Trudeau having a good time was a good news for the depth of the Montreal Canadiens.
I know it's a little early, but it's quite possible that on Monday, September 12th, at the Montreal Canadiens golf tournament at Club de Golf Laval-sur-le-Lac, that the Montreal Canadiens will name their captain. It's possible, right? We've seen the captain named at the golf tournament before. We've also seen the captain named at the beginning of camp, and we've seen the captain named in the last 20 years at the end of camp. So, I mean, we're almost there. Here we are in late August. Who do you think is the front runner to wear the C?
My prediction, I think they're gonna name Nick Suzuki, but if it were up to me, I would name Joel Edmondson because I think obviously Suzuki is really good. He understands the pressure of playing in Montreal, but we're going through a rough patch in Montreal for the next few years, Tony. You know that absolutely. I don't think it's necessarily to put the kid on this kind of pressure when you can name a Joel Edmondson. It's not going to change his day to be the captain of the Montreal Canadiens.
Especially in his first year of an 8-year deal that'll pay him like $7.8 million.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. I love the kid, but there's plenty of time for Nick Suzuki to be captain. He'll be captain in a couple of years. Once Joel Edmondson's contract will be up and he won't be here anymore.
Exactly. And you know what? You cannot name a captain too late, but you can name one too early. And obviously, the extreme is like Patrice Bergeron, who was captain at like 35, 36. It was obviously a little bit late for what he was ready for, but at least it was not too early. And we can make the same argument about Nick Suzuki. I want him to be named later rather than sooner. So I think Joel Edmondson could be like a transition captain for Montreal Canadiens, and it would benefit the organization.
All right. Okay. So in the end, though, for you, it's Edmondson, but you think they're going to name Suzuki. And, I think the same thing. I would go with Edmondson. With all due respect to Brendan Gallagher, I'm not going to go there because he has a long-term contract left.
Absolutely.
They're trying to shave money off the cap so that they can save money on the cap. And if they would do that, Gallagher could be a player that could be susceptible to leaving in the next year or so. And so on that note, why name a captain if he's going to get traded after a year? Edmondson has to be here for the next couple of years. Got a couple of years left on his contract. They got 3 or 4 young kids on defense. You're going to need a mentor like him, a stay-at-home defenseman like him. I also think he's got a certain presence to him, right? I think he's got a lot of respect from the officials. You're talking about a guy who won a Stanley Cup with the St. Louis Blues as well. We've been told that there's different ways in which he stepped up over the last couple of years. I believe it was him, the first one to call Slavkovsky. If memory serves me well, I think I heard that somewhere. I could be wrong. But when the Canadiens were going through a bad funk, it's him who wanted the music changed to lead the players onto the ice and stuff like that. The guys call him the team DJ. He's a guy who brings people together. So, hey, look, I got no problem with Nick Suzuki. I just think, why would he have to take the pressure at a young age when he can take it when he's a little bit more prepared a couple of years from now?
Yeah, exactly. You can say to Joel Edmondson, you're the captain now, but you got to take this kid on your wing and show him the way and show him exactly what made you the captain of the Montreal Canadiens. And you can add to that, like all the facts that Jordan Harris, when he came, when he joined the team, I think it was in Florida, and Joel Edmondson decided to bring him out to lunch, is that kind of guy that decided to just be a mentor for the kids and took the place that Shea Weber left empty last year. So for me, he's the guy you should name for the next few years.
Anyone who takes anyone out to lunch or out to eat, especially at La Cage, sounds like a real good guy to me. Charles Alexis Brisebois, and so are you. I hope this is the first time of many. People can follow you on dannycoulis.com and listen to you on BPM Sport 91.9 FM in Montreal, with also frequencies in Quebec and Gatineau. Merci beaucoup, mon chum. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very appreciate
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. There you have it. Charles Alexis Brisebois. I'm Marinaro. Once again, you can watch this podcast on YouTube and subscribe. It's absolutely free, and you can watch it on Facebook and subscribe to our Facebook group page and Instagram handle, Twitter page, all of that stuff. Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, Bleu, Blanc, Rouge. Da-da-da-da-da-da. 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 The golf tournament is around the corner. Rookie camp is around the corner. Pro camp is around the corner. And the Montreal Canadiens will play their first preseason game on Monday, September 26th. And they officially open up their regular season when they host the Toronto Maple Leafs on Wednesday, October 12th. I'm Marinaro. Tell your friends about it. We talk Habs on this podcast. It's pretty sick. And so is the host.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by 8.6, Intense by Nature, and La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you.